So when it comes to conduct disorders with little kids, if you see a kid, we diagnose it at 6. ODD, we start at 5. But with a 6-year-old, if we see that they're being mean to animals, we say to them, "Don't do that. That hurts the doggy, right? Don't do that. Don't do that." So when that doesn't happen, or when that behavior sometimes is allowed or acceptable, then I grow up as an adult. Truth is that we can actually diagnose an antisocial at 16 as well as a borderline at 16. For the test, it's going to say 18, but in real world, the DSM says you can diagnose them as between 16. So 6 to 16 is a conduct disorder, no remorse. They're always breaking the law. That's what's different than the opposition defiant. The ODD kids are bad kids. They're bad, but they're not always breaking the law. They like throwing chairs, blah, blah, blah. If you do research, you'll find that there's a very clear racial difference. White kids are ODD, Black kids are conduct. And what we know also then is there's no treatment for conduct. You're seen as a bad kid. So if you're diagnosed with a conduct disorder, the treatment is behavioral, right? We're trying to get rewards and consequences. So if you get a conduct disorder, we're not trying to get to your feelings. The assumption is we're past that, so we just do rewards and consequences. ODD we treat with trying to then teach you remorse and treat you differently. But by research stats, there's a very clear difference. I'm not saying those are just facts. Those are just facts. Okay. So on the question, what you're going to see is you're always going to see something that a conduct has broken the law. They've stolen lunch money. They've set the house on fire. They've done something that's broken the law. And both of those diagnoses, as well as any other childhood diagnosis, has to happen in more than one place. Always remember that. ADHD, if I'm bad at home and good at school, it's parenting. If I'm good at school, if I'm bad at home, I'm sorry, if I'm bad at school, it's the school. Okay, because they have to be seen in both places to have that diagnosis. Adult ADD is also a very real thing. This is not the subject for tonight. I'm just chatting. So adult ADD, remember, you have to have the symptoms before the age of 12. I tell you all, I take my Vyvanse. My brother, when we were little, he was definitely ADHD. I have a son and daughter that are both on ADHD meds, and I didn't dawn on me. And really, when I started my PhD program, I was 50, and I couldn't. I thought I had a brain tumor. I'm like, what is wrong with me? Why can't I focus? I really thought there was something wrong with me. And plus I was running a business, still working and raising children. My husband had just died. There's some other stuff going on, but went to see my therapist, and she said, "Have you ever thought that you were attention deficit?" And yeah, I met all the criteria before 12. So girls don't get in trouble. We are the ones that are looking out the window at school. We're writing Pam and Bobby kissing in a tree, KISSING. If it said you talk too much on your report card. The issue is ADD and ADHD people are auditory processors, and we learn really quickly. So we're usually smart. So we don't get in trouble, the girls at least, because the boys are hyperactive. They're throwing the chairs, they're getting attention. Girls don't do that. We just talk a lot. Okay. In my videos, I talk about, so if you're not sure if you're attention deficit woman, if you start cleaning your house and you're starting in the bedroom and you're making the bed, and then you realize there's a cup on the side of the bed, and you go down to the kitchen and you're thinking, oh, let me take it to the kitchen. While I'm down here, let me go ahead and run a load of dishes. And then I realize, oh, wait a minute. Let me go ahead and cook this chicken that's been in the refrigerator for a couple of days before it goes bad. And I start cooking the chicken, and I forgot all about everything else that I was doing upstairs. That's attention deficit. So that's not the hyperactivity. So it's ADD, ADHD without the hyperactivity. That's the most common in women. Those are all freebies, okay? So I'm teaching human development tonight. Do you have any questions, things you've come across, what it looks like on a test? So on this exam, LM is 27, LC is 24. Yeah, I think those are right. It's either way, it's a lot of points. And in human development, really, that's where we're going to get knowing how we normally grow up, knowing normal human behavior. You all had that test, that HBSE, human behavior in the social environment. We had the biological, the social, and biological, psychosocial, and physical piece of how people grow and change. So that's what it's talking about. And then also in that chapter is culture. Okay. So we know just for facts that a 26-year-old and my 22-year-old, I keep reminding her, her brain is not fully developed. According to the textbook or according to research, when does my brain fully develop?
25.
25 or 26. Okay. So we talk about the fact that you can stay on Obamacare, your parents' insurance, until you're 25 is not a mistake. It's based on social work research. So a lot of us don't realize that somebody else in. The NASW is the largest lobbying agency. So most of us go to work every day and we don't look at the bigger picture because many times the bigger picture doesn't always look like us. But the NASW is one of the largest lobbying agencies. We're right behind the NRA. Okay, so the gun people. I'm a member of both, by the way, just so you know. Okay, I believe the right to bear arms. I do. But anyway, that's a different question. I did know that a gun rally was synonymous for a Klan rally. I did not know that. One of my students told me that. I did not know what that meant. In the South, there are gun rallies, and I'm thinking, I got a couple of guns. Let me show up. My students are like, no, Pam. No. That means something else. You do not want to go there. I did not know that. But anyway, so the fact that the highest, the VA is still the highest employer of LMSWs. Now they've gone to hire some LPCs, but the NRA, the NASW has purposely set guidelines in place to keep out other professions. So it's very much a strong lobby. History, the National Association of Black Social Workers started in the 60s because they felt the NASW wasn't representing them. But the NASW has been around forever and forever. And I think there's currently a Black president. I think there's a Black male. I think so. But anyway, so a lot of that goes for making sure things happen. So have you ever gotten a letter from the NASW asking if you want to participate in any research? Many times, if you're a member, you'll get a letter. Michelle Obama's second, when their second term in office, she was doing a thing on literacy. And I got a letter asking if I wanted to be part of that research, active research, of helping prove that the importance of literacy with children of lower socioeconomic status. So that's where those bills come from. So when we talk about Obamacare, that you stay on your parents' insurance until you're 25 or 26, it's based on ground floor research that we do every day. So that's really where it comes from. And I know when you live in your little corner, and if you don't have a very active NASW or active other community, you might feel like you're the only social worker there. But it's a really, really large lobbying agency. LPCs are only they started in 1976. And it wasn't us that kept LPCs out. It was psychologists. Psychologists didn't want LPCs in. But there are certain jobs, and if you look for, and indeed, you know that they would prefer an LCSW over an LPC or an LFT any day. I tutored to all three. I had a client today, and she lives in my state, Tennessee, and an LMFT is not worth anything in my state. LCSW, LPCs are, but they don't even look at California, Texas, Florida. They like MFTs. But all of those things are really done because we're very political. So part of the questions that you see about politics or being in legislative terms are very real. That's part of what our organization has done many times, is keep other people out. So when we talk about that, that you can stay on your parents' insurance until you're 26, it's because of on the ground social workers that did that research. Okay. Okay, I don't know where I was going with that. Oh, I was going with that because that's human development. So normal human development, we know, is that your brain doesn't fully develop. The reasoning part of your brain doesn't develop until you're 25 or 26. In my last lifetime, I was a director of a teen parent program, and I had girls that were 14, 15, 16 that somebody would give them money and they got their nails done and didn't buy diapers. And you know how the community feels about, many times teen pregnancy, and they should know better and what's wrong with them. They out there hoeing around, blah, blah, blah. Um, but the goal is my brain just doesn't know any better yet. I'm still a kid. And at 14, between 14 and 19, I'm still very egocentric. There's a term called the personal fable. And I don't know if you did that when you were age, but those ages, you're doing stuff that you never told your mom about, stuff that was dangerous, right? We're taking risk taking. Yeah, I told my kids finally, but I share on my videos a story after a high school dance. I was in a band in high school. I don't play an instrument. I was, one of those cute little girls that, the baton, the flag girl. There were two cars. We were drag racing at about, I don't know, midnight, and the lane split. So we're on the same side on the interstate, and suddenly it splits. And now I'm in the car where ongoing traffic is coming toward me. At the time, I didn't think anything about it. Now I'm like, thank you, Lord, for having a praying grandmama, because you know, don't tell me I'm the only one that was young that did some crazy stuff. Come on, please don't tell me that I'm the only one that did some crazy stuff before your brain fully developed. Come on, somebody else give me a story. Come on, please.
So I'll say something. So Chantel, I heard you are from Connecticut. I'm also from Connecticut too. So I'll just say, me and my friends in high school used to go up to UConn and party, and UConn is the number one party school. So literally, we would
I thought it
deal
was
from.
UM. In Miami, it's UM. It used to
Oh,
be
it's UM.
UM. My University of Miami. Yeah. So go ahead.
So I mean, we would literally, yeah, get just drink. I mean, I was drinking. It was just, yeah, it was crazy in my high school days. So yeah. And we ended up staying out there. We didn't make it home. I'd say that. Or I don't know how I made it home. So,
You were a boy. I think it was just a little bit safer. Okay, that may be stereotypical. That may be stereotypical, and definitely. But that was my thought. Is and I probably am wrong. I worried less about my son than I did about my daughters. And that, I mean, my own stuff. My son's also like 6'2", so I worried less about him. I didn't give him more permission, but I worried less about him. Somebody else, come on. We're talking about normal human development. When you were 17, you did some stuff that you would have never told your mama, and you ain't dare telling your kids. Come on, Jasmine.
When I was in college, we went to Texas Relays. I'm out here in Texas, and so that was the thing. You go to Texas Relays, and we hitched a ride with like this random guy, and then we hitched a ride back. And this guy had like elbows, like the swingers. It's like a Houston thing. You know what I'm talking about? The little hubcap
No,
things. No, okay. They're like poke out. So
was it
anywho,
18-wheeler?
no, it was like in a car, and he had them
Okay.
on his tire, and they kind of like poke out. I'll send
Okay.
you a
Okay.
picture.
Okay.
And so
What does that mean?
he was trying to be flashy and just,
Okay. Okay.
yeah. And so somebody like hit his car and knocked one off. And so the guy whose car we was in, he was like driving fast in the freeway and shooting out his window. We're in the back seat, young, screaming, and I was just praying, like, Lord, just let me make it home. And I have never been back to Texas Relays ever again.
You have children?
No, I don't.
Okay. Those are some of the You're not going to tell them till they're much, much older.
Yeah,
You
today
go like,
grown.
yeah, till they grow. Like,
Don't get in the car
my
with strangers.
my kid will tell me a story. I'm like, oh, I understand.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say it anymore, but I understand. I definitely understand. Okay, Mastermind, I know that you are this perfect child and you never did anything wrong, but there's some secrets, girl. Come on.
I don't know any, Doc.
Okay. Pinocchio, your nose is about to hit my screen. That's all I
No,
can
but
tell you.
okay, so I used to meet grown women online, like when I was young. I would be online and I would meet up like on the phone and then we would hook up. Grown women. My mom would be at work. She was a social worker, right? But my mom did field work and one day she popped in, right? And I was supposed to be in school, but I'm with a grown woman in the basement, you know? So I used to do risky stuff like that, you know, didn't think about
It
the,
wasn't risky for you.
well, back then I didn't think it was, but
She
looking
was
back,
the one that's about to lose her job, and her not
oh
you.
no, I'm talking about STDs and all that. She
That
got
most definitely,
her husband could have came after me. I don't know. Married women
most
love
definitely,
me. Married women.
most definitely. So
Okay.
I'm old enough to be like pre-AIDS. So before that, there was nothing, a shot in my ass couldn't fix. Okay, so then AIDS came along and things changed. But prior to that, and the house cleaning just gave you a shot in your butt, right? Okay, yes. Again, things that I won't tell my children. They don't watch my videos. But honestly, before and I so the HIV AIDS, I was in college at the time. But prior to that, there was really nothing that penicillin wouldn't fix. It wasn't scary until much, much later. So again, my age group, that wasn't something that we would die from. I'm 60, so during that time, it wasn't that serious. Now it's a different story, but then it certainly wasn't. Unprotected sex was whatever, right? Because you weren't going to die if you got a disease, you got a STI, STD. Again, you had a SOT and it was fine.
Is that why the STD rate is higher in like these senior homes?
Well, girl, because I can't get pregnant. So that's the thought of many women and men. And also remember that there's also very few men with the number of women. There are very, very few men.
Okay.
So women outlive men. So, especially in South Florida, there's been a couple of outbreaks of like chlamydia and things like that, because if I can't get pregnant, then we don't think about using a condom. So I'm just hoping there's some couple men that can still get it up when I get to the nursing home. That's a question. That's a test question again. So I haven't seen it recently, but it definitely used to be a test question of a daughter calls and complains that the nursing home is allowing her mother to have relationships with another person in the home. And definitely our sexual desire doesn't change. So as long as both adults are consenting, and as long as both of us are in our right mind, Granny's allowed a booty call. Okay, Granny's allowed a I don't know shoot. Mm, I'm trying to think of like some of those dating apps, but I can't think of any. I tell my kid, fme.com, those apps, fme.com. I don't know what they're called, but do you know what I'm talking about? Those dating apps, right? So if Granny finds someone on fme.com and she chooses to invite him back to her or her back to the room, as long as both adults are in their right mind, then she still has the right to do that. This is where she lives. The nursing home has to set a room for them, mark the door, right, private. That's really okay. And what we know, again, our personality doesn't change unless there's some literally a TBI or some Alzheimer's or something that's going to change as we get older. In general, if we're mean and nasty when we're 20, we're mean and nasty when we're 80. If we're nice and sweet, if we're sexual when we're 30, 40, we're going to be sexual when we're 80, 90. So the little blue pill only made it better, but you still have to have desire. So if you don't have desire, a blue or green pill won't change what's going on. So it's only helping you with the functionality of the desire. So on the test, you'll see questions about elders. And again, we're the same people when we were 30, 40, 50. Personality doesn't change unless there's some kind of traumatic brain injury or Alzheimer's or something else steps in, right? But other than that, no, we're the same. Okay. Jennifer Jones, how are you?
I'm all right. Sorry, I had trouble. I don't know. It wouldn't let me log in, so I had trouble. Sorry.
Have I offended you in the first 10 minutes of me speaking?
No.
If not, I will stick around. Okay. So the real goal is the way that we teach you. You know, we want you to watch our videos 15 times, but I also want you to be able to apply it, whether it's in your own life, whether it's with a client you're working with, or you're working with a grandchild that never thought about discussing sex with her grandmother. That's part of normal human development. Okay, so what we know, unless there's some really radical changes, that we're really the same people from the beginning till we die. Okay, Jennifer, so did you do some wild, crazy stuff when you were in your teens? Because that's what we're supposed to do.
Yes, unfortunately.
Give us an example. Come on. You can. We can leave out names. You can tell me what your friend did.
My friend.
Yeah, of course. Don't. My friend. It wasn't me. It was my friend.
I don't know. I've done a lot of things from driving in fast cars, going with people to do things that are against the law. I don't really want to feel comfortable to that. I don't know. Oh, goodness.
Part of that, though, is really normal teenage stuff. So we really don't expect most teenagers, healthy teenagers, want to be the exact opposite of their parents.
Mm.
So that's normal, healthy behavior. When I see teenagers that don't rebel, that concerns me.
Mm.
So that's a part of teenage life. And of course, there are clients that come from different backgrounds and necessarily come from healthy homes. But even kids that come from healthy homes, part of that, of growing up, is normal rebellion. That's part of adolescence. And the point I want to make is because the brain doesn't fully develop until you're 25. Those are just facts for the test. But as I teach you, I want you to remember, so when you've got a kid in your office and the mom and dad are complaining that they're not doing this, they're not doing that, it's normal. It's normal. It's normal. It's normal. I'm a firm believer of okay, so I'm going to, according to the NASW, that we believe, the NASW states, the Code of Ethics states, that we believe that sexual orientation is not a choice. I don't choose to be straight or choose to be gay. We believe that is part of how you were born. That's what we say as social workers. I will tell my parents that are working with a 13-year-old that suddenly wants to bring the same-sex partner to a dance. If you've never seen any signs of them being gay or same-sex partner, it's probably just because it's cool. Because Erikson said, I want to blend in. I want to be like everybody else. And everybody else is bringing the same-sex partner. I want to blend in. But if I've noticed it since they were 5, right? Because what we know is my identity is developed by the time that I'm usually about 3. I know who I am. I know that I like boys or girls from the time of 3. So if I've never seen anything, Mom, it's probably just a phase. And again, mom said, well, I didn't know. You did know, mom. You just didn't want to recognize it. And I'm open for debate. I'm just going to tell you what the test answer says. Okay, that's what the NSW supports. That it's not. Sometimes we see choice. The NASW does not say it's choice. It says that it's how we're wired. Okay. I like men. I like tall black men. If you watch any of my videos, you know 6 feet tall, 6 figures with insurance because I quit my job. Okay. I ain't gonna lie. If I could get rid of all of you and only have single black men in my group, some that could be married too. I wouldn't mind. Okay. I got my bias. I'm not gonna lie. I like what I like. I like what I like, but I'm wired that way. I didn't, and I had a horrible marriage, And despite all that, it didn't change my wiring. So we believe, the NSW believes that it's not a choice, it's a wiring. So sexual orientation and gender, remember, are two different things, right? Gender is male, female, non-binary. Okay. I'm not gonna lie. I struggle with that. I'm not gonna lie. I wish I'm working on it. I'm working on it. I am. But I'm old. And I grew up with boy or girl. And I get it. But when I go to the mall and I see a beautiful person and I can't figure out like what they are, it's hard for me to not like ask. I just want to know how, because I own it. It's my stuff. I own it. And I'm not trying to be rude or trying to put you in a category. But for me, it's a cognitive dissonance, right? This is what I've always thought to be true. And now I'm trying to learn new things to understand that. But I'm not going to pretend. It's hard for me. And I've got 3 children, and they brought up in a generation where sexuality, and we've always talked about it in my house. It's always been part of common language, but I still struggle. And it's not that I'm not accepting. I just want to know, what are you? And I know it's wrong. So as we talk about those terms, those are part of that normal human development. So let's look at some questions. Ask me other questions while I'm pulling these up. Do you recall seeing? Go ahead.
So if you had a client that was non-binary, how would you approach that? Would you you wouldn't?
I would ask.
Yeah.
I would ask. I'm not what is you, but I'd like to know. So tell me now, how do you refer to yourself? Right? What are your pronouns? I've asked that many times. What are your pronouns?
Mm-hmm.
I had a client one time said, we don't use any pronouns. And I didn't want to freak out. I need some help here. I need some help here. Like, where are we going? Help me out. But again, I try to be, and again, I think as therapists, we're always growing, right? That's always part of what we do. We're always growing and listening and learning. So I really try to make sure that I'm always open and I'm always listening. But this, again, in my age bracket, this is just very different conversation than we've usually had. My kids will keep me in check. Mom, you don't say that.
I think the agencies also are not training. Before my mom retired, she got cussed out because she's over the phone with this person and she called this person a sir. And he told her, I ain't no goddamn sir. And she said, well, he sounded like Barry White. You know, he had a very, very deep voice, you know. And she said she didn't know what to call him. And then when she met with the person face to face, she said she was prepared to say ma'am, but then she saw him, the person, and they had a face full of hair. And so she said, sir, again. And again, this man like almost jumped on her because, well, the client, because, you know, he said he was a woman and they didn't train my mom. And she's a boomer. She's a baby boomer. So she didn't quite understand and didn't understand why she was getting cussed out. She really didn't understand.
Um, I would agree with that. So if you remember, think about I'm a typical college professor age. I'm 60, and I do teach it. I do teach it. I do teach it because I really try to learn. But I'm also aware that I tell my students when I put them in a field placement, and especially in the South, you may not have a person that is open to that. I live in the dirty South, which is Bible based and on every corner. So I tell my students when they start their internship that. Especially in the beginning, it's not your job to educate your supervisor. Okay, so I'll go out, I'll do a presentation sometimes, but definitely here it's different, and not even about sexual orientation. When I talk about again, old school South, college professor, old white men, that's typical. And I was doing a presentation once on just marginalized people in general. And I talked to him about how Native Americans or sometimes even Hispanics won't look you in the eye. It doesn't mean that they don't trust you. It's very much culture. And he looked at me and he said, if that man don't look me in the eye, there's something wrong with him. So a lot of those things I just can't change. I can't change. I do know that as that age retires out and new people come in, that we are hopefully more open to that, more open to conversations. But I'm not going to pretend. I mean, and college professors are tenured, so you don't have to learn anything. You're not going to get fired if you don't learn anything. So yeah, I'm retiring. I'm retiring. You guys, I've got 10 days left. I've worked at a majority white university for the last 15 years. It's been the hardest 15 years of my life. I'm not going to lie. I am not going to lie. I suggested to our president when George Floyd was shot, and my base is North Georgia, but our home base is Rome, which is not far from Atlanta. And every other college was putting out statements about we are not racist, we support blah blah blah. My college president did not until I told her to. I asked her to. And even then, she didn't respond to me. She sent it to the students, not to me. I asked her to acknowledge Black History Month, and she said that it would offend other people. So I live in the dirty South. I don't live there. I've worked in the dirty South. It's been the hardest 15 years of my life. I'm not going to pretend. Really trying to make changes. I wrote the diversity program for a social work program. How does a social work program not have a diversity program? How does that happen? And when I made my students, oh my gosh, they had two assignments that they always go to my dean and complain about. One is you had to interview someone you had to attend a religious service different than your religious upbringing. Okay, so and Christianity comes Catholicism, Protestant, whatever. So if you're a Christian, you had to attend maybe a Buddhist or a Hindu or Jewish. Do you know how many complaints I got? I didn't ask you to convert. I just asked you to learn. And the other one is you had to interview someone different from your background. And I would say to them, you get your nails done. Have you ever talked to your nail people? The gas station, have you ever talked to them? And in my area, my students knew them, but they'd never had a conversation with anyone that didn't look like them. So when I introduced the program, when I first started, it was extremely controversial. So it's been a rough 15 years. I wouldn't have chosen this. I didn't know it when I moved here. I didn't know it. But it's been rough. And you would think that this was in the 60s. I got in trouble, but I had a conversation with my dean once because I suggested to students that they watch something else different than Fox News. And I didn't say CNN. I said BBC. I'm not political. I'm just saying, watch something other than Fox. Let's see what the world thinks about America. Al Jazeera News, again, something that's not based in what you believe. And my students went to my dean and complained. At the time, I had a really good dean, so it wasn't taken off the charts. But yeah, just to say that many of you that live in big cities, you may not see what still happens in small towns, and especially in the South. Okie dokie. You see my screen? Yes, we do.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okie dokie. So let me start off with a couple of things. Remember, my gender is boy, girl, non-binary. My sexual orientation is who gets me hot. Okay. So 2 separate categories. So this question is about sexual orientation. Okay. And again, if you've seen similar questions, let me know. I'm trying to stay in based on what I've heard from my clients. That is based what the test is based on. And again, there are 24 questions in this chapter. Okay. Who wants to take this one for me? Well, thank you, Jasmine.
I was just going to volunteer.
Yeah, I know you were. I was just helping you out there.
Okay. Which statement best characterize what researchers know about the development of sexual orientation? Okay, first one, sexual orientation appears to be based primarily on biology. There's greater erotic plasticity among men than among women. Adoption studies show a strong environmental influence on the development of sexual orientation. And then in cultures that discourage same-sex behavior, a bisexual orientation is common. Oh, sorry.
Okay. Okay. So let's read all 4. We're going to rule out what we know is not true. No way, no how.
Okay. Which statement best characterizes what researchers know about the development of sexual orientation?
Okay. And sexual orientation is described as what?
Is who turned you on?
Ding, ding, ding. Okay, that's not going to be written that way in the test, but I say it, and if it embarrasses you, if it makes you feel a certain way, it's personal. I do that because I want you to always remember the difference.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think I didn't say, I normally say who gets your juices flowing because I'm a female. That's normally what I say. Okay. So who gets your juices flowing? Again, it's purposeful. It's purposeful. Yeah. I'm trying to touch feelings to help you remember there's a difference. Okay.
Okay. Sexual orientation appears to be based primarily on biology. I'll take that one out.
Okay.
I'm
not going to take that out yet.
Not yet? Okay.
Nope.
There is greater erotic plasticity, am I saying that right, among men than among women? Erotic plasticity. So
plasticity means changing and growing. There's a term called gender fluidity. Have you heard that term?
I've seen it.
What does that mean?
That's when you fluid, like you do male or female. You can dress masculine or feminine.
Okay.
Sean, you want to say something else?
Does it mean you like you don't like a specific gender, or you're fluid, you like everything?
Gender is not sex. Gender is boy or girl. It's not sex. Okay. Remember, so it's boy or girl. So non-binary, binary. So I say this all the time. If you've watched any of my old videos, this song that came out, it was the lyrics of the song that definitely I did not appreciate at the time. So sometimes I feel like a man, sometimes I feel like a woman. That's gender fluidity. So I may dress very masculine today, or I may be dressed very feminine. But the Mounds Almond Joy commercial that came out in the 70s definitely talked about it. Okay, let me just, I can't play the video because they'll ban me, but I can give you the lyrics. And I will add to it. Sometimes you feel like you have nuts, sometimes you don't. Okay, so the almond joy had nuts and the mounds didn't. So that was really the commercial back at the time. Give me all the lyrics. Give me the lyrics. I want that. I want the lyrics. Okay, so you can YouTube it, but the lyrics really is sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't. Almond Joy has nuts, mounds don't. Almond Joy has ooey gooey coconuts. Okay, so it's really about the I've always think that I've always not always, but I've realized that commercial was really about whether you like boys or girls. So the gender is about sexual. Let's try it again, Pam. So my gender fluidity is sometimes I feel like a man, sometimes I feel like a woman. Okay. So, but that's not the same as gender as sexual orientation. So I'm going to take that one out. Erotic plasticity is, again, how I feel. Okay. Keep going.
Adoption studies show a strong environmental influence on the development of sexual orientation. Adoption studies show. I guess I'll keep that one.
You will not.
I won't? Okay.
You will not. So let me tell you what that means. Adoption studies say, that's how we know a lot about what we know. So we have people that are genetically, you're my father, but I was raised by somebody else. I know that I have a 75% more chance of being an alcoholic just because genetically my father was an alcoholic. Whether I was raised by him or not, that's environment versus nature versus nurture. Okay, so I might have been biologically, he was my father, but I know whether he raised me or not, I have a higher chance of being an alcoholic. Okay, so the adoption studies show a strong environment influence on sexual orientation. That is not true. My genetic orientation, like I said before, is the NASW believes that's how I was born. Okay.
Okay.
You'll get this link and that's the video to watch on my Mounds commercial. Okay.
Okay.
So now I'm between 1 and 4. You still with me?
Yes.
Those who have
Okay.
taken the test before, have we seen questions on in this 24% of the questions? Have we seen questions on sexual orientation and gender? Okay. Between 1 and 4.
Okay. 4, in cultures that discourage same-sex behavior, a bisexual orientation is common.
It's a best question. So between 1 and 4, they might both be true, but what's the best is that's not a term, by the way. What's the best is his answer?
Is it A?
It is A. 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 So what we really believe, and despite what Mom and Em said, we really believe that a lot of it's been genetic. Chantel, what are your thoughts? There's a look on your face.
I agree. I thought it was number 1.
So your smile was like, I know something.
I got something right.
So that's hard for many of us that have grown up in religious circles where it's a sin and it's wrong, but that's not what the test says. And that's not what research says. And I can promise you, I didn't make a choice that I like men. I that wasn't a choice I made. That's just who I am. And I don't think it's any different for anyone else that doesn't, that's attracted to the same sex. That's just who I am. I didn't choose that. We do know, like any other behavior, we can talk about our priests that choose to have many of them choose to have a non-sexual life. I can dictate my behavior, right? I can change my behavior, but it doesn't change my desire, right? I'm single. I sleep with every man I know. Crap, right? That's my desire, but that behavior is not acceptable. So there are a lot of people that have the desire, right, but have learned that I'm married to someone else or I'm in the church. So the behavior is not acceptable, but it doesn't change the way that I was wired. We good with that? Many times we see the term cisgender on the test. What does that mean?
That's a woman who was born a woman who identifies as a woman, like a biological woman.
Same.
We gonna let go of the man? You just gonna pick a side?
It's the same gender.
I
Same
thought I heard
gender.
cisgender woman. No, so it's a person
So
that was,
I agree with the gender I was assigned at birth.
yeah.
So that doctor looked at me and he saw breast and vagina and he said, she's a girl. And when I look in the mirror, I see a girl. It lines up. People who are non-binary or struggling with their gender will say that you're lucky, that what you were assigned at birth is what you agree with. Okay, so cisgender is what I agree with what the doctor assigned me at birth. We can pretend like it's a new conversation, but it's not. The term that used to be hermaphrodite, old term, that you were born with both body parts, it's called intersex now, because I'm born with both sexual organs. Androgyny, that term means you can't tell what I'm a boy or a girl just by looking at me. But it's always been a part of our society. It's more conversational now. We can go back to Carl Jung if we're studying our theorists. Carl Jung said inside of us, all of us have the archetypes. He said that that we are. Let me show you. So Carl Jung is one of the early psychoanalysis. He was a lot like Freud, and he believed that things were in the unconscious. He talks about the collective unconscious. He said, my unconscious is not just mine. It's things that I bring in from what's happened in my society, in my world. But even then, he said that all of us have the opposite gender inside of us. So I'm a female, that Ma is the female. He said even then that so I'm a female. Inside of me there's an animus, that inside of us we all have both genders. Okay. Native American people have always believed that you were two-spirited. What does that mean?
Does it mean, like you just said, both genders?
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And it's always been the case. Again, so as we talk about things, they're not new to society. We discuss it more, but they're not new to any society that we live in. Okay. So gender, I'm gonna give you a couple more questions before I go to something else. Those of you who've taken the test, how many questions did you see based on these theories? Usually I get about 5 or 6.
Yeah, I was gonna say like three.
Okay, my LC and my LM, this is part of those cultural questions, okay? So let's look at that next one. Let's get that one. Here we go. Okay, so take this one. Rasheen, which of the following statements?
Okay. Which of the following statements regarding defining typical sexual behavior is most accurate? So, which of the following statements regarding defining typical sexual behavior is most accurate? So, um, reading the question, trying to understand it. So, typical sexual behavior. So that would be men and women, right? Like, I mean, just before I even.
Read my
Oh,
4 choices.
okay. All right. First choice says typical sexual behavior is defined consistently across different ages, genders, sexual orientations, and races and ethnicities. B says sexual behavior does not typically vary across cultures. C says there is no universal standard of typical behavior. And then D says research examining typical sexual behavior has been represent rep, representative of most diverse groups. Mm,
Okay, so which is the most accurate? Again, it's one of those most questions, so that means that more than one of these might be right. So I'm looking for the bestesses. That's a term, right? Bestesses.
mhm. I'm going to start with process of elimination,
Okay.
C and D.
Okay. There's no universal standard of typical savior. Oh, I kind of like that one. I don't
Right.
know.
Now, hold up. How about D? We'll do D. We'll do D and um
What's wrong with D?
research is it says but has been representative of most diverse groups. So it's examined.
Research
Yeah.
examining typical
Mhm.
behavior. Have we done enough research anywhere on other cultures? Where does the majority of our research come from?
It's white, isn't it? Or
Ding, ding, ding. Absolutely. So that's why
mhm.
it's not true, because we haven't done enough research on other cultures. Our majority of our research is based on white middle class. We study white upper middle class people. That's where most of our research has come from.
Okay. And then I'm gonna scratch B.
B.
Yeah, sexual behavior does not typically vary across cultures.
Okay. So now I'm between A and C. What do
So
I
for
do now?
best, read the question again. Um, which of the following statements regarding defining typical sexual behavior is most accurate? Um, most accurate. Okay.
Mhm. So think out
Can
loud
I
for
go
me.
see? Oh,
Okay, yes, I'm going to go see.
okay.
There's no universal. Who decides typical sexual behavior?
Oh,
There's no rule about that. So that's the best answer. There's no universal rule. What we know, if even when we look at in the paraphilic disorders in the DSM, if both, so fetishistic disorder means I like things that are not human flesh. I like shoes, I like rubber, I like whatever. If two adults agree on that, that's not a DSM disorder. Okay. If the problem is, my wife only likes this and we can't do anything else, then that might be a DSM disorder. But if both adult parties agree to it, what two grown adults do in their house is their choice. Okay, so there's really not a universal typical standard of typical sexual behavior. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, missionary position only. I don't think that's true. It just sounds great, but I just don't think that's true. Okay, it's Sunday night. You got to go because you got to have it in the right position as well, right? Only one position is allowed. Again, purposely to touch feelings. Purposely, I do it to really touch feelings. And we live in a society, and we're the people that can't be afraid to discuss sex with our clients. we can't do that. We really have to. When I teach human sexuality, one of the things that I do with my students is I make them say vagina and breast and penis out loud, because so many of us we grew up with like pee and cookie and blah blah blah, not the appropriate sexual terms. And what I want my students to know is when you're teaching your child that this is my face, my arms, my breasts, my vagina, those are normal, that's part of my body. It's, we don't want to dirty it up. Okay, so we just in my human development class, we talk about sexuality. And can I tell you that most of my students in college have not had a human development class since high school. And then the girls and boys were separated and never talked about it. They never talked about it. So even when I worked at Teen Parent Center of teaching girls how babies are born, a lot of times they just didn't get it. That, you know, we ovulate out of we ovulate out of every the tubes every other month. It changes size. It's this side, it's this side. You have the most eggs when you're very fertile, at 15, 16, 17. A lot of that is based on human body and how our behavior, our body has evolved. Because when we died at 50 or 60, you're still most fertile at 15, 16, because the lifespan wasn't that long. So when we talk about that, this is when boys are achieving their sexual prowessness, right? During 15 or 16. And that's when girls are most fertile. It makes sense why we have teen pregnancies. Okay. Women release their sexual prowessness, their sexual identity, usually in their 40s and 50s. So I'm just saying, you know, at 60, I should be able to date an 18-year-old. He's legal, right? That's we're both in the same. My kid's like, no, mom, no. But we're both at our sexual peak at the same time. So that's again, touching things that touch feelings. As clinicians, these should be common conversations. We should be okay discussing this with clients. Okie dokie. So my next one is 5. Okay. Take this one, Jennifer.
Blank is defined as our concept of male, ourselves as male, female, a blend of both or neither. Do you want me to just give the answer or just?
Nah, you know, you gotta rule out.
Sexual identity, gender orientation, gender identity, sexual orientation. Well, I'm going to cross out definitely A and D because that has nothing, your sexuality has nothing to do with how you see yourself as male, female.
Okay. What's my answer?
Gender, I would say C, gender identity.
Very good. Very
Gender
good.
orientation. What is that? Because is that like a term that's not?
No, it's not a term. Okay. So sexual orientation is a term. Okay, but gender identity is how I view myself as boy, girl, or non-binary. Okay. Have you seen the term pansexual on the test? Have we seen that one? What does that one mean?
Pansexual means that you're attracted to, like, there's no, like, it doesn't matter if you're transgender, male, female, you just all people you're attracted to, all people.
So most often what we're looking for the test is, I don't care what body it comes in. I like rich people. I like attractive people. I like this. And I don't care where it comes from. I don't care what body it comes in. I learned that the hard way, by the way, just so you know. I was traveling and I was with a friend, and she was engaged, and we were hanging out, and she made a pass at me, and I'm like, I didn't see that coming. You're engaged. And she said, I like attractive people. It didn't matter what body it came in. It doesn't matter. That was just, that makes sense. So pansexual is I like this certain personality trait, and I don't really care what body it comes in. Okay. I like rich people, but unfortunately, I want rich men. I'm just to put that out there. So just so you know, 6 figures, 6 income, 6 feet tall, size 15 shoe. Just putting it out there. Okay.
So
I got no shame in my game. Okay.
is pansexual similar to gender fluidity?
No, remember, gender is boy, girl. Sexuality is who I like, who gets my juices flowing.
Okay.
Okay. So pansexual. Let me share a story. And I share anecdotals purposely to help you remember. So I have always known that it is you're born with your sexual orientation. I know there are adults later that may choose different, but in general, we're born with our sexual orientation. Okay. When my daughter was little, she was in kindergarten, and they separate the girls from the boys. At the girls' table, there were always like 3 boys that sat at the girls' table. And this is like kindergarten. They're like 4 or 5. Right? There were the 3 boys, and they've all gone to school together. So I've watched this group of people grow up. So there were, again, there were 3 boys that always sat at the girls' table. And what I knew at the time is they really felt that's where they belonged. They felt more comfortable with the girls. When I'm 5, it's not about my sexual orientation. It's just, this is where I feel more comfortable. And they sat at the girls' table. As I've watched them go through school and them all grow up, and now they're all 21 and 22. One of them that sat at the girls' table, they're twins. And one of them, he in middle school, he came out as a girl. He was, God, what were they, 10, maybe 11? And again, it was a small group. It's a small private school, and everybody knows each other. So when at the end of the year party, I hosted it, and his mother didn't want to send him because a lot of the kids at school began to make fun of him. And I said, please send him. He can stay in the kitchen with me. He doesn't have to hang out with the crowd. But even by 10 or 11, he had already begun to identify as a girl. Okay. And I'm watching these kids grow, And the other one, probably in high school, he was gay. He was a male. He was gay. He liked men. And recently, she's a friend of mine. We've been friends since our kids were in kindergarten. They're 22. And her son at 21 went through gender change. And Christian Black woman. And I've seen that since they were little. I didn't know that he was female, but I've known since they were at 5 that he identified as a girl. I've just known that because I've watched them grow up. And I can only imagine. I've tried to call her, and she doesn't want to talk about it. But he's now he's a transgender, and he's changed his name, and he's come out as a girl. So I've always known, as I've watched this last group of my last kids' friends grow up, that from day one, those 3 boys, there was something different. Not good or bad, just different. So your gender is then at birth. He knew that he was a girl. He knew that he felt like he was a girl. And I'm not sure how she's handling it, because most of our religions aren't okay with that. Okay. So I think I answered your question. Did I answer your question? So
Yeah,
transgender is anywhere on the chain, the area of changing my gender. I don't agree with you, what you assigned me at birth, so now I'm changing my gender. That has nothing to do with my sexual orientation. If he now sees himself as a female, I don't know if he likes boys or girls. Does that make sense? That's your sexual orientation. I just know he identifies as a girl. Okay. For most of us that have grown up in religious communities, this is an uncomfortable conversation to have because we've grown up with to sin. It's okay. God made Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. And I think as counselors, it's really, really important that we be comfortable with our own stuff so we can work with our clients. Because many times I can't discuss this with my parents because that's not okay. That's not okay. Okay, so let's look at Gabrielle since the age of 6. Chantel?
Since the age of 6, Giselle, a biological female, has consistently dressed in more masculine clothing, preferred male playmates, and expressed a desire to be a boy. During puberty, Giselle expressed feelings of significant depression about developing breasts and would wrap them tightly so they wouldn't show under her clothing. Giselle may be experiencing gender dysphoria, cisgender identity, gender fluidity, or gender stereotyping. I'm going to take out cisgender identity.
That's when I agree with what you assigned me at birth.
Mm-hmm. And gender stereotyping, I'm going to take that out as well.
What does that mean?
I don't know. I've never heard of it before, but it didn't look right. So,
have there not been people that have assumed you're going to behave this way because you're a woman?
okay.
Right. So gender stereotyping is you're a woman or you're a man, and this is how I assume you're going to behave. This is how girls behave. This is how boys behave. That's the stereotype. So
Okay.
as a female, if I show up in dressed like a man tomorrow, right? People have that's something wrong with that because they've stereotyped me as a female, and this is how I should behave or dress. Okay.
That kind of like, I was just talking about this today. I went to T-Mobile, and the person helping me looks like a man, but he had a wig and he was dressed as a female. Um, so I kind of felt like I didn't know what to call him, the person. So I was kind of stereotyping him.
I started off this conversation that I still struggle with that. I struggle. I struggle. So even at that, sometimes I'll just say, what is your pronoun? So that way I know to say whether he or she, because I still struggle. Dr. Phil says, once you're aware of the problem, you can make changes. But I'm aware that I struggle with that I want to put you in a box. I want to say boy or girl. And we live in a generation now that you don't have to fit in the box.
Yeah. As soon as I said it, I was talking to another associate and I was like, every time I come in, he's so nice to me. And as soon as it came out, I was like, oh shoot, I don't even know if that's what he wants to be called.
So I usually say, and I haven't found that people are offended by that. What is your pronoun?
Mm-hmm.
So that lets me know how you identify, and I can go with that. Except for the couple that I was working with, and they said we don't use pronouns, and I'm like, okay, but I do, I really do. I struggle with that. I when you go to the makeup counter and this person that appears to be male and he's beautiful. I'm lost. I'm like in my head, like, oh my gosh, what do I do now? It's cognitive dissonance because what I always thought to be true doesn't line up. So I'm aware of that. So what are your pronouns? I found to be an appropriate question.
Okay, so I think the answer, I'm going to take out gender fluidity as well and pick gender dysphoria as the answer.
That is the DSM diagnosis, right? Because I'm unhappy with the gender you assigned me at birth. We've seen conversations with celebrities. Who's the basketball player that allowed their child to change and they were under 18?
Dwayne, not Dwayne.
Dwayne Wade.
Yeah.
Dwayne Wade.
Miami Heat player, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gabrielle Union and yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the society's had a lot of concerns about that. But again, if we go on based on what research says, is that I've known that I was a boy or a girl by the time I was 3. And just because you look down, you had a penis, that many times doesn't line up with the hormones that I have. Okay.
A question.
Uh-huh.
Sorry. So if a child knows who they are at age 3, do they know at age 3 that they like boys or girls? I think you answered that already. That's okay.
I
Sorry.
don't necessarily know that yet, because sexual orientation for most of us doesn't happen until much later.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but at 3, I know I'm a girl, right? My mama said I'm a girl. This is what girls do. So my mama said I'm a boy, and this is how I should behave, and I feel like that's not okay. Okay, so talk about Erikson. My sexual orientation doesn't happen until like 11 and 12, but most of us, by starting middle school, we know if we like boys or girls. We might not express it, we may not say it, but something inside of us says this is what we like. Okay. I can teach you to the test and keep my own opinions out of it. I'm going to teach you what the test answers say, but I will tell you that that's what I believe. Early in my career, I got a call on a Saturday morning from a teenage Black boy. He was probably 13, and they were supposed to go to church, and they had been placed in foster care, and they were placed in a very religious family. And I got a crisis call, because he was on the bridge and ready to kill himself. He'd stolen the family car, and he was going to jump off the bridge. And he didn't die. I got to make it there in time. I was his therapist. The crisis team took care of it. I met him in the hospital. But I knew that at that age, he knew that he liked boys, and living in this Christian home made him feel like it was dirty and wrong. And we know there's a very high rate of suicide in the LGBTQIA community. We definitely know that. Imagine how hard teenage years are hard already. They're already hard, right? You're trying to find out who you are, and you got some acne, and one day your voice is low and the next day it's high. It's hard enough already. And now a kid who's in foster care in a very Christian home, and they're telling him he's going to die in sin, that's a problem. That's a problem. So you cannot tell me that that's a choice he made. Okay. You want this one, Rishi?
Yes, that's fine. All right. So Talia describes herself as a lesbian. She's sexually attracted to women. Jada describes Jada describes their gender as non-binary and prefers they, them pronouns. Talia is referring to blank and Jada is referring to. So we're going back to Talia. So Talia is she's a woman attracted to women, and then Jada is non-binary. So non-binary means you like it all, right? Or if I'm not
No,
no,
it's gender.
non-binary.
It's gender, not sex. Okay.
Oh,
Non-binary is X. That in many states you can, okay, not many, but a couple states, you can put X on the birth certificate, and you can allow the child to decide their gender as they grow older. Okay.
okay.
So my binary is male, female, or they. So I am a she, I am a her. That is how I label those are my pronouns.
Pronouns. Gotcha,
Okay.
gotcha.
Okay. So
Okay.
I'm going to assume your pronouns are him and he.
Yes.
Okay. So then if so, non-binary is they and them. That's my gender. That's not who gets me my juices flowing.
Got it. Got it. Got it. So we're gonna do process of elimination. Um,
So Talia is a lesbian. She likes women. What is that? That gender or orientation?
Orientation. So I
Good.
feel like it's C.
Okay. So Tala
But
is her orientation,
mhm,
and then the gender is my gender identity. Okay, so
mhm,
those are two very, very different things. Okay, we've got to make sure that we get those, we understand those again, not just for the
mhm,
tests, for our clients. And
mhm,
for many of us, this is a new world. Okay, I can only say for old people. I think if you ask my kids in their 30s, this is everyday conversation. For
mhm.
me, this is learning new terms, right? Learning to make sure that I'm very appropriate, and not sounding like I don't understand. I just don't know. Okay, so okay, Chantel, I don't hear you, babe.
Sorry, thought I hit the button. The supervisor at Lugo's workplace informed all coworkers that beginning the following week, Lugo would be coming to work dressed in feminine clothing, would be referred to as Louise, and would use she, her pronouns. The supervisor described this process as part of Louise's um, I'm gonna rule out exhibitionist, excuse me,
What does
disorder.
that mean? What's that mean?
I don't know.
Girl, you ain't been around long enough. Okay. So
I've never even heard of it.
it's those are paraphilic disorders, the DSM. Rasheen can't wait to tell you because obviously he knows. Okay. Go ahead, Rasheen. Please
That's
share.
funny. Dr. Pam, you have mentioned it in another class, but I believe it's
Okay, that
sexual.
he's
I
gonna
was like,
blame me
damn.
like he doesn't know. Okay. What is it?
Is it you like you're attracted exhibitionist, so you like certain sexual things, right?
No. Exhibitionist is that I like for someone to see me. I like
Oh,
people
you
to
like watching
watch.
being watched, right? You like
Like
watching
being
the right,
watched.
Oh,
Okay.
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 right, right.
So a part of P. Diddy, because you know I'm all up into this, is that he videotaped everything.
Yeah.
He likes being watched. He likes other people watching. The other people didn't always know, right? But he definitely liked other people watching the video. So he was an exhibitionist. He liked people to watch what was happening. Okay.
Excuse me.
So a voyeurism is the one who likes to watch. The
Right.
exhibitionist is the one who likes to be watched.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna cross that one out. And I'm gonna cross out sexual interest, desire disorder.
Okay.
And so out of sexual orientation and gender transition, I'm gonna pick gender transition.
Very good. Very good. Very good. Okay. So those are again just some of the basic terms that you'll see in human development when it comes to gender. Okay. So again, remember there's a difference between who I like, who I am as a male or female, and then who I sleep with. Okay, so let's pull up some other questions just on human growth and development. Again, there are 24 questions in this area. So most often we talk about, these are my developmental theories. If I talk about Erikson, does that sound familiar? Do we know Erikson's theories? Okay, so let's go back and do some teaching. So what we know in general, let me go back to When it comes to developmental theorists, they're always talking about ages and stages. Okay. So a developmental theorists are going to say, this is where I should be at this stage in life. That's the windows. So in Freud, we talk about both how he treats people as well as how we develop sexually. Freud's stages of development are OAPLG, Orphan Annie, Pretty Little Girl, Old Ass People Love Gold. So what he said is that we should be fully sexually developed by the time that we are 5. How'd that work for you guys? I don't know about you, but I still struggle. Okay, so 5 was not working for me. But he is our first person we talk about in this chapter of human development. Okay. So what we know is, again, this is not how he treated people. Treated people is bring things from the unconscious to the conscious. But how we developed is Orphan Annie, Pretty Little Girl, which is the most appropriate term. I teach old ass Pam loves gold. It's factual. I'm old. I didn't teach that in the beginning, but now I just own it. So in the oral stage, Freud said that mother is supposed to satisfy the sex in my mouth. In the anal stage, when I'm pottying, right? If mom potty trains me too harshly, I have a tight sphincter muscle. I look up like I have a stick stuck up my bottom. My phallic stage, that's the Electra and the Oedipus complex, right? I find my toy box. Oh, look what I got! Look what I got! Okay, so that's masturbation. What we know in normal human behavior, that's normal behavior. We tell the kid, do it in privacy and wash your hands. Right? This is normal human behavior. I found something on my body that feels good. Ooh, ooh, ooh. The Electra stage, the E, the girl is in love with her father, and she develops penis envy. She wants a penis like her dad. The boy is in love with his mother. What's he afraid of? If his dad finds out, what will his dad do?
He'll chop his.
Ding, 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 right? He's going to chop off his penis. So what the question might look like is a little boy is going through surgery to have his tonsils removed, and they have to put a needle in his groin area. What's he afraid of? It's not pain. He's afraid he's going to wake up and his penis is going to be gone. If the stage ends appropriately, then I end up identifying with the same sex parent, right? So girls identify with girls and their mother, and boys identify with their dad. The latency stage, nothing happens. You're going to see that on the test, latent and manifest. Latent means hidden. Manifest means seen. Okay. If you grow up in church, the pastor said, manifest your dreams. That means see them, make them happen. One of the other ways I remember that is I'm old. And back in the day, our first serial killer was the Unabomber, and he wrote his manifesto. Right? He wrote out like what his plan was. So latency is hidden. Manifest is seen. So in that stage, nothing happens sexually. I prefer to hang out with my same sex partners, right? My friends. 12 and over is when we have actual intercourse. That's the genital stage. So according to Freud, if my mother does all these things appropriate at the right age, we're good. The problem is when she doesn't, then I get fixated. So fixated means I get stuck in that stage. So according to Freud, if my mother doesn't breastfeed me or takes the nipple out of my mouth too soon, then I'm still trying to figure out and solve the sex in my mouth. Okay. So if she takes the bottle out of my mouth, then my sex erogenous zone is not filled. So what it looks like is, as an adult, I'm overeating, I'm drinking, I'm smoking, I'm trying to figure out this, I'm trying to make my mouth happy. What a question may look like is a woman is overweight and she swears she doesn't remember eating. Because remember, all these things are unconscious with Freud, right? But I'm still trying to satisfy the sex in my mouth. The anal stage, mama potty trained me most often too harshly. She took me off the potty, she took the diapers away more before I was ready for that. So now I walk around. The sphincter muscle, right, is what holds your poop in. And what we believe is that the sphincter muscle really doesn't fully develop until you're about 3. Okay. So Freud said, though, now mother potty trained me at 2, and my sphincter muscle wasn't really prepared. So as an adult, I walk around like I got a stick stuck up my butt. I'm holding that in, right? You know, people that are OCPD, they walk around, they got a stick stuck up their butt. It's like, how you walk? Your butt's so tight. Like, gotta be perfect, gotta be perfect. I'm just saying what Freud would say. I'm just saying. I'm not, no opinion. Okay. He said if you're too lax, then the person might be untidy or generous. But most often on the test, what you see is mom potty trained me too soon or too harshly. Okay. So then, as an adult, again, I'm a perfectionist. I want everything perfect because my stick is at my bottom. The phallic stage, like I said before, that is Electra and Oedipus. If I satisfy that stage appropriately, then again, I identify with the same sex parent. If I don't, now as an adult, if it didn't work out, then I have vanity, self-obsession, sexual anxiety, inadequacy, inferiority, and envy. Do you know what we say about the short men that drive the F-250 long cab extended bed? You know, they like 5'2" and their car's this long. What do we say?
Is it short man syndrome? What do you
Ding,
mean?
ding, ding. Because you Freud would say that you didn't satisfy this stage, and your penis is very small. So to overcompensate for that, you drive the F-250 extended cab long bed. Don't act like we haven't used that in everyday conversation. Okay, that's based on Freud. It's based on what Freud said. You don't have to agree, but you have to understand at least what it looks like for the test. One of the other things he said is I grow and I go around building big old buildings, men especially, because he did talk about women not being satisfied. He didn't really care. But men then designed these big old phallic shaped buildings. Am I sharing my screen? Things that look like a very large penis. Freud said because you didn't satisfy that stage, now as an adult, you'll go around building big old penises as buildings. Okay, so those are phallic symbols. We see that all the time. We hear the term phallic symbols all the time. So when you hear that, I want you to remember that's what Freud said, because my mother, always my mother's fault, didn't satisfy that stage. So as an adult, I got fixated, and that's what I do. Okay, the Washington Monument, many people will say that's a phallic symbol. It's really tall, right? And it's the top. Oh, according to Freud, that's what you did if you were stuck in that stage. So we use fixation, that always belongs to Freud. Now, what we know, if we keep talking about Freud, again, how we develop, he talks about transference and countertransference. So transference is what?
That's when the client puts their stuff onto us as a therapist.
Got it, got it. So what do you do first when there's transference? What do you do?
Transference or countertransference.
Transference. What do you do? A
So
client comes into you and says, "Oh my gosh, you're I think I love you. You're amazing. You're so attractive. I can't wait to see you. You're going to make my life better. You're amazing." What do I do first?
you talk about the boundaries, you let them know it's boundaries. You set boundaries, right? You talk.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm going to remind them that it's very common, right? So, uh, going to therapy, you've been to therapy before, you know that therapist, like, before you were a therapist, you're thinking they're amazing. They've listened to all your stories, and they hype you up before you leave. They tell you how great you are. Therapy feels good in the beginning, at least, till they call you on your stuff, right? Okay. So it's not uncommon for a client to say, "You're amazing. I'm so happy you're my therapist. I love you. You're attractive." That's common. I'm going to remind that client that that's common. If it continues, right? I've set boundaries. I've told them the rules. If it continues, then I seek supervision because I want someone to know I'm about to kill this man. Okay. Nah, 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 nah. I warned him twice and he keeps going on. So it's not necessarily for me, it's usually CYA. So transference, I don't seek supervision first. Counter transference, I seek supervision immediately. It's my stuff getting in the way. Okay. And my stuff doesn't get in the way. If you watched any of my videos, I will say to you always, 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 please remember for the rest of your life to seek supervision. Whether it's 20 years from now and you own your own business, but we're human. Feelings are going to get in the way. I like you too much. I don't like you enough. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. I'll be very honest with you. I will tell you that, I've got clients that I can't stand some days. I'm like, okay, Lord, no, 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 no. Most of my board are mental health professions, and we really make a decision of whether or not this is the best for our clients. And I'm not doing therapy. I'm just trying to help you pass the test. But when I find myself working harder than my client, and I think most of you felt that way, I want it more than they want it. That's countertransference. My stuff is in the way, or I like them more than I should. Oh, let's give them like 10 sessions this week, and I got 40 other clients. So for the rest of your life, you're always going to have those issues. That's part of being in this field. Okay. Erikson, remember Erikson now, he's psychosocial. His first 3 stages line up with Freud's stages. People always try to memorize these. Please don't. Please don't. Just know where you're at and know where we're going. I am 60. I am in stagnation versus generativity. Okay. How old are you, Jasmine?
35.
Okay. What stage are you in and what happens in that stage?
I'm in intimacy versus isolation.
And what did Erikson say?
He said this is where you may struggle. Like if you don't find love and belonging, you may struggle with being like alone or isolated.
Got it. Got it. Okay. So he didn't say you had to be married forever. He just said during those years, you should have had at least one intimate relationship. And if you've never had that relationship by 39, then you're in isolation. Remember, it's always the first one, it's on the left is what I want to do to get to the next stage. Okay. But it's very common for someone to say, I'm 60, I focused on my business and I never fell in love. So I still may be stuck. And the word he used was crisis. An identity crisis is I don't know who I am, or the intimacy crisis is I never found myself. So even if I'm 60, if I didn't go through the stage appropriately, if I've never fallen in love, I'm still stuck in that stage. The goal of Erikson is that we manage the first one. So I said the first 3 stages are going to line up with Freud. So this is going to be the oral stage. If babies, no matter what your mom and them said, I know your mama said, just let them cry it out. Tess says no. In between the infant and 18 months, born in 18 months, if they cry, pick them up because they'll learn the world is a safe place. Okay. The second one now is autonomy versus shame and doubt. That is potty training, the same as the anal stage. Who watched my videos? Dr. Pam put on her Barbie panties. I'm so excited, big girl panties, woo, 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 and have an accident. If mother makes me feel bad, then I'm going to feel shame and doubt. Okay. And I can't get to the next stage until I satisfy that stage, according to Erikson. 3 to 5 is initiative versus guilt. That's the same stage as finding my toy box. Oh! So I'm touching my toy box and it's great. And mama says, we don't do that, then I'm going to feel guilt. So the goal is, and of course, if all of our theories, it's always the mama's fault. You know that, right? There's no theory wherever it's the dad's fault. It's always the mama's fault. Okay. So initiative versus guilt, that's 3 to 5. Now we are starting elementary school. And this is industry versus inferiority. I'm going to ask you a question. It might take you half a minute to go back and recall. When you were in elementary school, middle school, what were you good at? What were you known for? Okay. I've shared my story many times. So segregation started in 1956. Okay. I started school in 1970. In my elementary school grades, I'm very sure my teachers had never seen a Black student. They had never seen a Black student. So a lot of issues. I didn't realize till I was later, a lot of trauma. But what happened in those first, so I went, elementary school was K through 5. And the assumption was because I was a tall female, I was a good athlete. So I kept being picked on the basketball team, the volleyball team, the track team. I do not have I can barely walk a straight line, no alcohol involved. I got no coordination. Just don't, never have, just don't. But my elementary school teachers at the time, the assumption was, right, we're starting in the 70s, is, I'm Black, I must be a good athlete. And I'm tall. My physique says that I should be a good athlete. I wasn't. If I hadn't figured out what I was good at, I would have still felt inferior. My videos, I'll say to you, I won a spelling bee, 3rd, 4th, 5th grade at Brickey Elementary School. But it wasn't until I went to middle school that was much more segregated that I was labeled as gifted. If that had not happened, I would have always felt inferior because in the world I lived in at that time, the only way there's a girl of color would have industry was I should have been an athlete. So if I hadn't figured that out, if someone hadn't said, hey, and I could read when I started 1st grade, I could read. I've always had a high IQ. Most of you have an high IQ, but I could read. I could read. And I do come from a family of athletes. I do come from a family. My husband was a professional football player. My children, okay, they're not really athletic, but I come from a family of athletes. But if middle school hadn't happened, I would have felt inferior for most of my life. If someone hadn't actually labeled me as gifted, I would have had a problem. Okay, so tell me, what were you known for at that age? Elementary school, early, middle? If I go back and ask your teachers, what would they say that you were good at? Chantal? I know it was just like 15 minutes ago, right? You just barely graduated from college, high school, like 10 minutes ago. I know. Okay.
I was into sports.
Okay.
I was into basketball, track.
So starting elementary school, when we had those teams, you were good at that. That was that your industry? Did you feel like I'm good? I feel good about myself at that stage because I'm good at
I
track.
did.
Very cool. Very cool. Somebody else.
Track, I could run.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I like track as well, and also I was in this robotics class where we had to build like this machine. I was really into that, like working with the team.
Okay. Okay. So what I'm hearing is I was the only black kid that wasn't good at sports so far. That's what I'm hearing. And if I'd gone to an African American school, it'd have been fine. But in all white school in the 70s, that was the assumption, right? That was the only value that anybody black could bring to the school was being an athlete. And I just wasn't. And to this day, I have no, I have no coordination at all. When I love to cruise, and you know when I'm doing a slide in my head, I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, turn one. It doesn't come natural. It just doesn't. It doesn't. I'm still counting in my head. I'm 60, and I've been doing this since I was like 25, but I'm counting. And I like the songs that tell me what to do. Kick, left turn. I just don't have it. I can't pretend I don't. But at least that by middle school, I was able to figure out what I was good at. And I still love this theory today. I don't practice anymore, but when I have parents that pull their kid out of sports because they made a bad grade, where am I supposed to feel good about myself? My industry is how I feel good. So I've got a kid who I had a friend. He was one of those part-time dads, and the kid just not school is not made for everybody. I think most of us in this room were school people and we like school, but we know school's not made for everybody. So I've got a kid that's struggling to get B's or C's. I'm okay with that. They still need to find a place to feel good. So if they feel good in band, they feel good in track, as long as they're giving school an effort, I'm okay with that. So don't pull that kid out of the one place that they feel good about themselves. I always think I can fix lots of things, but it takes a whole lot of money, a whole lot of therapy to fix self-esteem. Right? So if I feel inferior during those early years, and I don't get past that, if I don't figure out what I'm good at till I'm 40, I have a lot of years of feeling bad about myself. The next one is industry versus confusion. So this is where that identity crisis happens. Now I'm going to ask you again, okay? In this stage, when we are 13, 14, 15, we want to be like everybody else. Oh my gosh, Mama, everybody has the iPhone 17 Plus. Why can't I have one? All of us back in the day there was a trend going on that everybody wanted. What we know about this stage is by the time I'm 21, I'm going to college. I'm not just picking a major because my friend did. Right? If there's a college party, we can't be wearing the same dress. But when I'm 13, I want to be like everybody else. This is the trend. This is what everybody's wearing. And I feel good about myself because I fit in. If you watch one of my videos, I talk about my son. He went to a predominantly white school. And the trend, he's 33 now. And the trend at the time for white kids was the hair was shaven, they had the colored mohawk. Okay. My son wanted that. My little black boy wanted that. Whatever. It's just hair. So I took him to the hairdresser and we shaved the sides. We relaxed the top and he had a green mohawk. Because at that time, he just wanted to be like everybody else. I lived in South Florida, and I would take him to the barber to get his shape up, and I speak enough French to know that the Haitian barbers were making fun of me. I understood that. Okay, so my husband wasn't even going to trust him. Like, no. But he just wanted to blend in. That's all he wanted. Did it matter that much in the scheme of things? It's just hair. It's just hair. Okay. It wasn't my girl that wanted her hair shaved because that wasn't going to happen with my daughters. But my boy, okay. So, but that was what was trending in his group, and he wanted to blend in. At that time, he was in a gifted program. There were about 10 of them. And he didn't want to be, he was only the black boy, but he didn't want to stand out. He wanted to blend in as much as he could. Okay, so tell me back, go back. Some of it was yesterday. For me, it was like 30,000 years ago. Dinosaurs roamed the land. What was the trend when you were in middle school and high school that everybody had?
Cell phone.
Jasmine?
I wanted a cell phone.
Okay, Jasmine, how old are you?
35.
Okay, so now we're in, what year is this when you're in like middle school or high school?
Middle school like 2003,
2003.
13.
Well, did everybody have a cell phone then?
It was coming out. They were making
Were they like the block phones or
Yeah,
like flip phones?
the Nokia, the just solid block phone. It might have been
Girl, do you know how
2012.
expensive those were?
I wanted one.
Did your friends have one?
Yep. Some of them,
Dang.
not all of them.
Ooh, you went to the rich school. I'm just gonna say, because them block phones back in the day. Your mama said, "I love you, baby, but we got to pay the mortgage this month."
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I remember the first time. I can't remember what year it was. The first time I used one, and I didn't know how to use it. I was working though. I was in the profession, so I started working in '92. So this is probably 5 or 6 years into my profession. So probably early 2000s, and we had beepers. We had beepers. And one of the school social workers, she was married, and she had the big old cell phone. And we were on an outing. We were doing a home visit, and she's like, "You want to make a call?" And I'm like, "I don't know how. I didn't know how." I was like, "I didn't know how." I was like so afraid to touch it. Like, I don't know what to do. Okay, girl, you was bougie back then, because that wasn't even when everybody had them. That was just like, what was the clothing trend then? What was everybody wearing?
You're talking to Jasmine.
No, go
ahead.
Aging myself. We had 8-ball jackets, Eastland.
What year did you graduate from high school?
91.
91. Okay. Okay. So we're in high school in so this is 85, 86, 87. And where did you grow up?
In Connecticut.
Okay.
East
Okay.
Hartford,
Okay.
Connecticut.
Okay. 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 So then, so 8-ball jackets. What else?
Kango hats.
Oh yeah. Who did that? What rapper made those famous?
Was it Biggie? Notorious
It was
B.I.G.?
before Biggie.
LL Cool J.
LL Cool
Oh,
J.
LL Cool J. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, when we would watch him on TV, when he left rapping and became a TV actor, I would tell my kids that that's their baby daddy, because damn, I was too. Just saying. My husband traveled a lot. Okay, that was fine. That's your real baby. That's your real daddy. Okay, so what was the music at the time?
'90s. That was Diddy,
Mm-hmm.
Biggie.
Okay.
Um,
So did you fit in? Were your parents able to afford what was trending then?
I fit in because I had a job. I had a paper route, and I always wanted to have money. I like fashion. I like shopping, so I always made sure I had money.
Can I ask, are your heritage, or your family from the Caribbean?
No.
Wow.
People think that about me all the time, but no.
And I only ask that because just because of my limited knowledge of research, is that Connecticut was a lot of places where Caribbeans landed.
Mhm.
Um, I've traveled a lot. We do some of the ski lodges, even in like Colorado, and there's a very large Caribbean community, and they live in
Mhm.
Connecticut when they're not working at the ski lodges. So that's why I ask. So,
Oh,
weren't most of the people around you Caribbean at the time? No.
no. I mean, I
Okay.
know people who are from the
Mhm.
Caribbean, but no.
No. And I just thank you for educating me. Honestly, I always appreciate that. Okie dokie. So who else wants to age themselves? Come on out. Just share your age. What was cool at the time?
I'll go. Um, so when I was in
What
high
year did you
school,
graduate from high school?
I
Like
graduated
yesterday?
2004.
Okay.
I am 39
Okay.
years old, so
Okay.
and so one thing, I was privileged. I'm not gonna lie. But I
Don't
worked.
apologize for that. Don't apologize that your mom
I,
and dad busted their butt. Don't apologize
they
for that.
didn't. Well, it's my grandfather. I worked with him. He owned a business, a hardwood floor
Okay.
business. And we
Okay.
worked in the wealthy parts of Connecticut. But anyways, I was able to get like all the new Jordans that came out. Like I was the first one to get them. The first pair that came out, it was $200. Like I got
That
them
was
for
like 500 back then. That
um,
was a lot of money, okay? So, okay,
yeah,
so you were the cool guy that everybody looked up to.
yeah. I mean, I would say look up. You know how when you yeah. I mean, I
Hmm.
had friends, but I was very like I
Trendsetter.
yeah. Like I blame my mom though, because I say this as far as fashion, right? Because I do like fashion stuff, but my mom always dressed me nice, and
Mhm.
so, I even now, like I feel like I like nice stuff, but I'm sure it's because of how my mom, she said uh, your shoes, everything should always be, you should always look good. Like shoes should always be on point, and then your outfit should, so. But I know that that's something I learned that grew with me, So yeah,
That's not a bad thing. That's not a bad
no,
thing. But it sounds like, again, she said the trendsetter. So people were now trying to follow you. Like, oh, I just want to be like him.
oh yeah, I did get picked for best dressed in school too. So
Very cool. Very cool. Are you an only child? Do you have siblings?
I have a twin sister, not sisters. I have a twin sister, and I have sister. No, not the only one.
I've known you for a long time. I never knew you had a twin sister. So
You
are
know, I have a
you
twin.
close? Are you alike? Tell me.
Different personalities. My sister. My
Are
sister
you
actually has
paternal?
fraternal. Yep, my
Okay.
sister has she has 4 children. She lives 4 hours away from me. She's in like the nursing field and all that.
Mhm.
I would say we're different. I would definitely say was it? I'm not the strict mean uncle or brother, but it's like I try to educate, like stop playing, or I make them think bigger, and so
Mhm.
I'm the mean guy, but y'all calling me about helping paying y'all bills. What did I tell y'all years ago? You know what I mean? Yeah,
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
tough love,
Mhm.
and then well, I have another sister. She has 3 kids, so again, I'm the uncle. That's what, seven kids, so. There goes my, but again, just that part.
Especially in minority populations, you're the one that made it out.
Hmm.
And there's a lot of pressure because you made it out. And I think that with most of the clients I work with, that the people around you don't realize just because I make more money, more bills, right? So more money, more problems. Just
Oh,
because I make that
BS.
more money, don't mean I got that much extra. Right. And if I want to spend my money on me, it's okay. And I think that's very common when in marginalized populations when someone makes it out. So, very cool, very cool. I haven't asked you this. Is your family Islander family?
Me?
Uh-huh.
What was crazy was my grandmother actually, well, not crazy, but my grandmother passed away, was a year ago. But during when they were talking about like my family history, I found out that like some of my family was from the Bahamas, and I didn't even know, But
Hmm.
no, I'm not from. I'm from. I'm African American. I'm from Connecticut. Well, my family group, we migrated to Connecticut, but they're originally from North Carolina, like a small town called Ahoskie.
Mhm.
Um, they did get.
Was that during like post-slavery years? Do you know the
Mhm,
time frame?
yep.
Yeah.
I know they got land. I definitely know that. I know. I bet more. I know because my dad has land. It
Mhm.
was. I don't know the year, but probably. I mean, that lot.
Yeah. I only ask because I'm a huge fan of African American history. And I always appreciate when you educate me because I'm a huge fan of just knowing where I came from and where people came from. So that's why I ask. And you're always more than welcome to say none of your business. But I always want to know. I just the things the textbook didn't teach us are always things that I want to learn. Okay, so tell me about you, Jennifer.
Um, well, I live in Connecticut, and
Do I just need to relocate to Connecticut? Because what's going on there? It's too cold. I would never ever relocate.
too
That's too
cold
damn
and the
cold.
rent's too high. Don't move here.
Well, they
Oh,
pay well. That's the only thing I liked about.
And
Well, DC
yeah,
pays
well,
well, but
and by
yeah.
the time you pay EverSource, you be broke. So don't move here. Um, when I graduated high school, I think it was a lot of Tommy Hilfiger. People wear a lot of Tommy Hilfiger,
ah.
and it was more like Tim's and I think like Deion Sanders shoes and even Bo Jackson's and things like that. But
Hmm.
Chris Webber had some shoes. Just like gold there, the not the door knockers more, but maybe like the hoops.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Like a lot of the brown lip liner with the lipstick, things like that. That was
And what year did you graduate from high school?
1997.
Okay. So a lot of those things have come back.
Mhm.
So that is the brown lip liner, especially. I didn't grow up in that era, and I hear from other people that the brown lip liner is back. Like, oh my gosh, I did that. I didn't grow up in that era. Were you fortunate enough to have those things, or were you trying to have those things?
I had them because of my father. Yeah.
Okay,
So my father lived in Arkansas. My mother was like on Section 8 and food stamps and things like that, but my father would send us the things that we wanted.
very cool. Again, when I teach this, I don't want you to focus on memorizing it. I
Mhm.
really want you to make it real. When you have a client who comes in, and I don't know your population, but I work with in the past with a lot of clients that were in that age group and their parents didn't have it. And especially inner city kids, when having the freshest pair of shoes are the most important thing, that definitely I'm more open to I'm more interested in gang involvement because everybody else has them and I can't afford them. And I want to be like everybody else. And that's a really, really big deal at that age. So when you're working with parents, when you're working with kids, to remind them, I don't, all I want to do at that age is be like everybody else. We outgrow it, it changes, but during that stage, I just want to be like everybody else. So now in that stage, if I pass it, okay, I'm fidelity. I'm true to myself. I know who I am. I'm good with who I am. So now, once I know who I am, then I can fall in love. Part of that identity versus role confusion is also learning whether I like boys or girls or tall boys, short girls, tall girls. What do I like? And then once I know that, I fall in love. My stage is generativity versus stagnation. I always talk about this, that many of you had college professors that they hadn't changed the syllabus. And when you went to school, it was the same one they used 5 years ago. All you do is ask somebody who went to school before you, and it was the same test, the same books, nothing had changed, right? They are stagnated in that stage. So what we want to do, and my goal is to keep being generative. Generative means that I don't have another good 60 years left. That's a fact. So as I'm living, I want to leave a legacy for future generations. I want it to matter that I was here. And again, according to Erikson, I've got to be on this side of these things to get to the end. And the last one is ego integrity. I'm on my deathbed. And ego integrity is really looking at am I okay with the life that I lived? I made these choices. Am I good with that? and the other side is despair. And I'm going to say there are people that are just too angry to die. They're looking back on all the things I should have, could have done. Okay. So according to Erikson, if I don't satisfy these stages, I will get stuck and I won't be able to get to the end appropriately. When you see these questions, remember, it's not always, the ages and stages don't always line up, because I can be at an older stage and stuck because I didn't satisfy the stage appropriately. Okay. Okay, guys, I got to let you go. You'll get the study material. You'll also get Piaget and Kohlberg. So those are the other theorists that we need to know in this theory. So again, there's between 24 and 27% questions. But definitely just, again, watch this video, watch any video I've ever done on human development. You don't want to give up those 3 points. You really, really don't. We got to learn who said what. Okay? It's been a pleasure. I'll see you next week. Keep studying. You know what I want to do is I want to be in your head. I want to be in your head. I want to be in your head. I want your family to hate me. I want you to listen to me 15 hours a week, no more than an hour at a time, over and over and over again. I want you to understand that Erikson's second stage of a pre-operational is the terrible twos. No one exists on this world but me. Kids at 3, share with who? That's part of his theory. That's normal human behavior. It's also normal to be that way when I am 15, to be egocentric, because that's normal human behavior. My brain doesn't fully develop until I'm 25. You might see the term circadian rhythm. That means I go to bed when it's dark, I wake up when it's light. We know that teenagers need as much sleep as babies. Okay. Want to ask them anything particular? I hope you learned a something. And again, I'll share all this information I shared. You'll get that hopefully on Monday. Okay?
Thank you.
My pleasure, guys.
Have a good night.
You too. Bye.